Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me today on Sigma Sunday. So today we are talking about doing the leadership pause. I don't know why we're calling it that. We're just going to roll with it. But I just call it a pause, to be honest with you, because it doesn't really matter. So this is kind of one of those moments where somebody's asking you to do something, or they're demanding an answer, or maybe there's about to be a confrontation and you're wanting to decide very quickly, how am I going to handle this and what am I going to do? And sometimes we do that too quickly. We don't take the leadership pause, and then we step back from it and we're like, oh, I should have taken a minute before I emailed that person back or before I responded. And I've taught clients this as well. It's not just a leadership thing, which is why I was saying you could just call it a pause. Because I think in life, anytime, especially for somebody like myself, I have a tendency, because I'm neurospicy, I'm already thinking 55 steps ahead. And in conversations, I have a very bad habit of interrupting. I'll fully admit it. It's not my thing. I don't do well managing it. I've tried really hard and it's very difficult, especially when people are very passionately telling me a story and they're taking a really long time. And I'm like, cool, I made it to the end of this story and I just want to say something. And I know sometimes for people who struggle with ADHD, it's the worry that you're going to forget what it is that you want to say to somebody. So you want to hurry up and answer. And that can get us in a lot of trouble, as well as interrupting makes you look like a dick. Let's be real. And it's okay to take that pause. So is it something I practice? Yes. Am I great at it? No. Am I a work in progress? Yes. And I hope you are too. So when I say take a leadership pause or just take a pause, what I typically will tell people is if you have a type of jewelry, let's say you have a ring or your watch or even, a bracelet. If somebody comes to you and they ask you something hey, on Saturday, I really, I can't work this shift. And I know that I called in a couple weeks ago, but there's really nothing I can do. I want you to take that piece of jewelry and I want you to move it around 3 times. This is giving you just enough time to really think about what's been said to you, what feeling it's invoking in you, and then going with the reaction that isn't out of emotion. Because when we have these really quick reactions, we're coming from a place of emotion. And in business, that's really, really terrible. Okay? It's business, period. The minute you start to make things really emotional or very personal is the minute we're screwed. Because now we're not going to think with logic. Now we're thinking with anger, with frustration, with fear. And that's never going to get you anywhere, and especially in a leadership position. So if you can take those 3 seconds and you can say, okay, this person can't be here. This is the 10th time we've had this conversation. This is going to be a bigger conversation than just, okay, no worries, I'll get it covered. So you take those 3 seconds and you say, okay, who have you found to cover your spot? Because we've talked about this, and if you don't have anybody to cover you, then unfortunately you're going to have to be here. And because we've talked about this before, I'm hoping that you remember that. Instead of what you might want to say is Jesus, could you literally screw this up one more damn time? Right? Which I get it. That happens. But if you're taking that 3 seconds, you're really thinking, just take it a deep breath, mulling it through, and then really leading from a place of strategic thoughts, not personal feelings. Okay? And this helps too with emails. Emails are a little easier, obviously, because you can kind of take a minute, read it, and reread it. You've seen the funny memes where it's yeah, asshole, I saw your email and I hope you choke on it. And then it's delete, 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 delete. So you can definitely do that, which is helpful in emails or even text messages, right? Where you can write it. Just be very careful you're not hitting send. So sometimes I'll tell people, just pull up a blank Word document on your computer and word vomit all over it. Oh my God, you're the worst. I can't believe you're doing this again. I absolutely hate working with you. You're the biggest piece of shit I've ever met in my entire life. And then chill and take your 3 seconds and then delete it and then come at it again. And it's still maybe a little spicy. You still may be a little bit hurt. If there's not an emergent reason for you to respond, take some time. Okay? The other thing I will always remind people is that when we're making decisions, have you eaten? Are you tired? Do you need water? I know that sounds kind of silly, but those realistically are the things that we have to look at of am I answering this out of frustration because I'm starving because I haven't eaten in 2 hours? And, I haven't eaten anything since this morning. I haven't peed. I haven't had any water and I'm just really grumpy because of this. Or did something go bad this morning with your kids? And it's kind of been a domino effect then all the way throughout the day. And then again, you're having these really negative reactions. So where can you just sit with this and say, okay, let me just take a second, really think this through. I think it's always okay too, and I'm a little bit better at this. I'm not always great, but I'm a little bit better. But I always think it's okay to just tell somebody, you know what, let me think about that for a minute and I'll get right back to you. And you do, right? You're being very clear on like, right now, it's not the time for me to answer this question and I'm going to need to circle back to this. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the reaction of like, if somebody's being aggressive of like, no, I need you to answer me now, that's probably telling you something and it's probably nothing good. So I think it's always okay, especially as a leader, to lead by example of asking for what you truly need and setting boundaries of like, you know what, this morning has been really rough and I'm not on my best game. Why don't you give me a couple of hours? I'm going to go have some lunch and then I'm going to get back to you. Again, if it's not an emergent situation. If it is emergent, you're going to have to think a little bit on your feet and you're going to have to try and really make sure that you're doing it from a place where it's not emotional and it's not personal, because again, that's where we really get into these messy areas of like, this person is doing this because they don't like me, or this person is doing this because they think I'm a pushover. That may very well be true, but it doesn't matter, because in this moment, it's business. And that's where you're going to have to come from of like, I need to handle this in a business perspective, not a personal perspective. Okay? So I hope this is helpful and I hope this gives you some tips and tricks, and Lord knows I'll continue to work on it and I'll let you guys know how it goes. But please make sure you like and share this. And as I always say, I love to hear if this stuff works for you guys, or if you're like, hey, you know what works even better for me, or I tried that and it was an absolute disaster. Because again, right, we're all humans. We have to come at these things with grace. And in leadership, I think it's probably the biggest learning curve of like learning about yourself and those that you're leading. So please be kind to yourself, like, share, and follow. I appreciate you guys tons, and I can't wait to see you till next time. Bye.